Discipline is freedom. The world will tell you freedom is doing whatever you want, whenever you want, however you feel. But that's not freedom. That's chaos. Real freedom comes from control. Control over your emotions, control over your impulses, control over the voice inside you that keeps whispering, it's okay to quit. Discipline is what sets you free from weakness, from regret, from the weight of your own excuses. Because the truth is, without discipline, you become a prisoner to your feelings. You become trapped by comfort, chained by laziness, and suffocated by fear. When you master discipline, you master yourself. You don't wait for motivation. You don't need inspiration. You act because it's what must be done. You train your mind to obey your purpose, not your mood. And that's where the real power begins. The power to wake up when you're tired. The power to push forward when no one's clapping for you. The power to do what's right, even when it hurts. That's not restriction. That's liberation. Because every act of discipline builds freedom. Freedom from doubt, from fear, from failure. Most people live their entire lives controlled by their comfort. They run from pain, they chase pleasure, and they call it happiness. But what they don't realize is that pleasure fades and comfort kills ambition. The easy road always ends in regret. The hard road, the disciplined road, ends in strength. It's the road that breaks you, rebuilds you, and reshapes you into someone who can handle anything. The disciplined man wakes up before the world, not because he has to, but because he chooses to. He knows that freedom doesn't come from sleeping in or skipping the work. It comes from owning every decision, every moment, every day. Discipline is the invisible line that separates those who dream from those who do. Anyone can say they want success. Anyone can say they want greatness. But discipline is the proof. It's the evidence that you mean it. When you show up day after day, when you push past fatigue, when you sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term growth, that's discipline speaking. And every time you do that, you earn a little more freedom. Freedom to live life on your terms. Freedom to stand tall knowing you gave your all. Freedom to be unstoppable because you've trained yourself not to quit. The reason so many people feel lost is because they've traded discipline for ease. They chase shortcuts. They look for hacks. They want the reward without the responsibility. But you can't cheat discipline. You can't fake consistency. The universe doesn't hand over success. It demands payment in discipline. Every rep in the gym, every late night spent studying, every early morning where you'd rather stay in bed. Those moments are the currency of freedom. And the more you pay, the richer you become. Freedom is not the absence of structure. Freedom is having the strength to build it yourself. It's saying, I will do what's necessary, no matter how I feel. It's being able to trust yourself completely because you've proven you'll follow through. Discipline gives you that trust. It builds a relationship between you and your potential. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you reinforce it. Every time you do the hard thing instead of the easy one, you remind yourself that you're in control. Discipline teaches you patience. It teaches you respect. It teaches you that nothing great happens overnight. The world rewards the man who endures, not the one who waits for the perfect moment. Because discipline doesn't wait. It moves, it acts, it builds. And while others are distracted, scrolling, sleeping, or complaining, the disciplined are grinding, growing, and rising. There's a quiet pride that comes with discipline. Not arrogance, but certainty. The kind of certainty that can't be shaken by failure or doubt. You know who you are. You know what you've done to get here. You don't need validation because your effort speaks for itself. Discipline gives you peace because you stop negotiating with weakness. You stop needing motivation. You stop being a slave to emotion. Discipline gives you the power to choose your destiny. It gives you the strength to break cycles, to rewrite your story, to become the person you were meant to be. It's the doorway to freedom. And only those who walk through it will ever understand how powerful it truly is. Feelings don't matter. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to move. That's the truth most people don't want to hear. They wait for the perfect moment, the right energy, the right mood to start chasing their goals. But that moment never comes because life doesn't wait for you to feel good. Success doesn't care if you're tired. Growth doesn't care if you're in the mood. The world rewards action, not emotion. You can sit around talking about how you feel, or you can get up and do something about it. Every second you spend debating your feelings is another second you could have spent changing your life. You will never feel ready. You will never wake up one day magically full of motivation and clarity. There will always be doubt. There will always be fear. There will always be that small voice whispering, "Not today." That voice never goes away. You just learn to move through it. The people who win in life aren't the ones who feel confident all the time. They're the ones who move even when they don't. They take the first step even when the ground beneath them shakes. They do the work when their heart isn't in it. They act before they feel like it, and that's what makes them unstoppable. Feelings are temporary. They change by the hour, by the minute, by the second. One day you feel motivated, the next day you feel drained. If you build your life around feelings, your progress will rise and fall with your mood. You'll start and stop 100 times. You'll chase goals only when it's convenient. But when you build your life around discipline, consistency, and purpose, you no longer need to feel like it. You just do it. That's how champions are made. They're not fueled by emotion. They're powered by commitment. Every time you act despite your feelings, you grow stronger. Every time you move when you don't want to, you train your mind to lead instead of follow. You build mental armor, a kind of strength that no bad day can destroy. Because when you stop waiting to feel good, you take full control of your life. You stop being a puppet pulled by your emotions and start being a master of your actions. That's how real growth happens. Not in comfort, not in motivation, but in motion. There will be days when your body feels heavy, when your mind is clouded, when your heart tells you to rest. Those are the days that define you. Anyone can act when they feel amazing. It's when you feel broken and still move forward that greatness is born. When you drag yourself out of bed even though you're exhausted. When you keep working even though no one's watching. When you show up even though your feelings scream no. That's when you become powerful. Feelings can lie to you. They tell you it's okay to skip today, that one break won't hurt, that tomorrow will be better. But tomorrow is built by what you do today. The future doesn't belong to the emotional. It belongs to the relentless, the ones who stop listening to their moods and start trusting their mission. You don't get to the top because you felt like it. You get there because you kept climbing when everything in you wanted to stop. You don't need to feel confident to take the first step. You don't need to feel motivated to keep pushing. You don't need to feel inspired to build something great. The action itself creates the feeling. Once you move, momentum follows. Once you start, energy builds. The mind begins to obey the body that refused to quit. Every rep, every step, every effort compounds. Until one day you realize you no longer wait to feel ready because you understand readiness is a lie. The secret is simple. Feelings are a trap. You either let them control you or you control them. You either wait to feel right or you act until things become right. The choice is always yours. Every second you hesitate, your goals drift further away. Every second you act, they move closer. Stop giving your feelings power they don't deserve. They're just noise, and the only way to silence them is to move. Consistency over motivation. Motivation fades, discipline stays. That's the truth no one wants to hear. People chase motivation like it's fuel, thinking they need to feel inspired before they act. But motivation is temporary. It burns bright, then dies fast. You get fired up for a day, a week, maybe a month, but eventually the spark fades. And when it does, most people stop. They fall back into old habits, back into comfort, back into nothingness. The ones who keep going, the ones who rise above, they don't rely on motivation. They rely on consistency. They do it whether they feel like it or not. Consistency is the backbone of greatness. It's the grind that happens when the cameras are off, when no one's cheering, when your body's tired and your mind's screaming to quit. It's the act of showing up again and again, even when progress feels invisible, because real progress doesn't happen overnight. It's built quietly in the background, through repetition, through routine, through relentless effort. Motivation can start the engine, but consistency drives the journey. It's not about how hard you go once. It's about how long you can stay in the game. The world is full of people who started strong but never finished. They felt motivated. They got excited. They shouted about their dreams. And then life got heavy. The excitement faded, the struggle set in, and they stopped. That's why so few make it, because consistency doesn't care about excitement. It's about endurance. It's about doing what needs to be done every single day, without emotion, without excuse, without delay. Consistency doesn't need applause. It doesn't need validation. It only needs commitment. Every champion you've ever admired wasn't built in a day of inspiration. They were built through years of consistency, waking up early when they didn't want to, training when their body was in pain, working when everyone else was resting. That's the truth behind success, the repetition of the unglamorous, the daily grind no one sees. Because the small things you do every day become the big results everyone talks about later. Consistency doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't wait for motivation to show up. It's about showing up no matter how you feel. Motivation says, I'll do it when I feel good. Consistency says, I'll do it until I'm good. That's the difference between average and elite, between almost and unstoppable. The consistent man doesn't chase emotion, he chases progress. He understands that discipline is stronger than desire, that routine is stronger than reason. There will be days when nothing seems to work, when you question why you're even doing it, when your results seem invisible. That's when most people give up. But that's also when transformation begins, because every time you keep going through boredom, frustration, and doubt, you're teaching your mind to endure. You're building a mindset that doesn't depend on hype. You're training your soul to keep moving forward, no matter what stands in the way. Motivation is a burst of energy. Consistency is a way of life. Motivation is loud. Consistency is silent. Motivation excites you for a moment. Consistency shapes you for a lifetime. The days you feel nothing, the days you're tired, the days you want to stop, those are the days that count the most, because those are the days that separate talkers from doers. Anyone can work hard when it feels easy. It's when it's hard that greatness is forged. Consistency creates momentum. Every small action compounds over time. You may not see results today or tomorrow or next week, but every effort stacks up. Every choice adds weight to your progress. Eventually, what was once difficult becomes automatic. What was once impossible becomes natural. That's the quiet power of consistency. It turns effort into identity. Motivation asks for permission. Consistency takes control. Motivation comes and goes, but consistency builds habits that never leave. And once those habits are formed, you don't need to think. You just do. You just act. You just move forward. Because at that point, it's no longer something you're trying to do. It's who you are. And that's what makes you unshakable, unstoppable, and undeniable. Pain is the price of power. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in pain. Every great story ever written, every legend ever born, every success ever achieved, it all came from struggle. Comfort never made anyone strong. It never built character. It never created leaders. Pain is the fire that forges greatness. It's the test that separates the weak from the unbreakable. When life hurts, when your back is against the wall, when everything inside you screams to stop, that's the moment your real strength begins to rise. Pain is not your enemy. It's your teacher. It shows you what you're made of. It strips away your ego, your excuses, and your limits. Pain reveals who you really are when everything else is gone. You can hide behind smiles, behind words, behind confidence. But when pain hits, the mask comes off. That's when you discover your truth. Because only through pain do you earn power. Only through struggle do you earn peace. The world gives nothing to those who play it safe. It rewards those who endure. The ones who rise to the top are not the ones who had it easy. They're the ones who didn't quit when it hurt. They faced rejection, loss, and failure, and still kept moving forward. Pain carved strength into their bones. Pain built resilience in their hearts. Every tear, every scar, every sleepless night was an investment. Pain became the price they paid for power, and they paid it willingly, because they understood that nothing worth having comes without sacrifice. Comfort feels good, but it makes you weak. It tricks you into thinking you're safe while your potential dies slowly inside you. Comfort feeds your doubts, your fears, your laziness. It tells you you're fine right where you are, but deep down, you know you're not. You know you're meant for more. And the only way to reach that more is to step into discomfort, to walk straight into the pain you've been avoiding. Because on the other side of that pain is strength, confidence, and freedom. Pain is the price every warrior pays to rise. You cannot skip it. You cannot cheat it. You cannot avoid it. The more you run from it, the weaker you become. But when you face it head on, when you endure it, when you embrace it, it transforms you. It hardens your mind. It sharpens your focus. It makes you dangerous in the best way possible. Pain trains you to handle life, because life will break you if you're not strong enough to stand through its storms. Most people give up when pain shows up. They think it means they're on the wrong path. But pain isn't a sign to stop. It's a sign to keep going. Pain means growth is happening. It means your body, your mind, and your spirit are expanding beyond what they were. You can't evolve in ease. You evolve through resistance. Just like muscles tear before they grow, your character must be stretched before it strengthens. The burn you feel, the struggle you face, the doubt you fight, it's all part of the process. Every challenge you face is shaping you. Every hardship is molding you. The pain you feel today is the foundation of the strength you'll stand on tomorrow. You suffer with purpose. That pain becomes fuel. It becomes a source of energy, a reminder that you're alive, that you're still in the fight. You start to realize pain isn't punishment. It's preparation. It's preparing you for the weight of your destiny, for the challenges that come with success, for the life you said you wanted. Growth demands pain because comfort teaches nothing. You learn who you are when everything is falling apart. You learn what you're capable of when you have no choice but to keep going. That's where transformation happens. In the dark, in the lonely, in the painful moments that test your soul. The strongest people you know didn't escape pain. They mastered it. They learned to carry it, to use it, to turn it into power. Because once you understand pain, you no longer fear it. You welcome it because you know it's building you into someone the world can't break. Discipline builds identity. Every act of discipline builds the person you were meant to become. Who you are is not defined by what you say or what you dream about or what you promise yourself you'll do one day. Who you are is defined by what you do. Every single day, every choice you make is a brick. Every action you take is another piece of the foundation that shapes your character. Discipline is how you build yourself from the ground up. It's how you become the version of you that exists only in your imagination. Because without discipline, identity is just an idea, a fantasy with no form. Discipline gives structure to your soul. It gives direction to your energy. It turns chaos into clarity. The moment you decide to live by discipline, you stop drifting and start building. Every time you wake up early, every time you follow through on a promise, every time you push through when it hurts, you're not just checking off a task, you're sculpting who you are. You're telling yourself, this is the kind of person I am. Discipline is not just about habits, it's about identity. Because what you do repeatedly becomes who you are permanently. Most people never realize how much their actions shape their identity. They think they can think their way into greatness, but greatness doesn't come from thought. It comes from repetition. It comes from the small, disciplined actions that no one sees. The quiet sacrifices, the lonely hours, the moments where you keep going when quitting would be easier. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're making a statement about who you are becoming. You're proving to yourself that you are not the same as yesterday. You're evolving. Discipline builds integrity. When you do what you say you'll do, even when no one is watching, you build trust with yourself. And that trust is everything. Without it, you live in doubt, constantly breaking promises to yourself and wondering why you feel weak. But when you honor your word through action, you begin to see yourself differently. You begin to carry yourself differently. Confidence doesn't come from pep talks. It comes from keeping commitments. It comes from discipline. Every time you keep your word, you reinforce your identity as someone who follows through. Discipline also builds resilience, because when you live a disciplined life, you learn to endure. You learn to handle pressure, to adapt, to keep moving forward no matter what stands in your way. You stop being controlled by your emotions, your excuses, or your environment. Discipline becomes your anchor in chaos. It reminds you who you are when everything around you tries to pull you off course. You don't need to fake confidence. It's built naturally when you know you put in the work. Every act of discipline is a declaration of who you're becoming. It's a seed that grows into the kind of person capable of carrying your dreams. The disciplined version of you is calm, focused, and unstoppable. They don't rely on luck or mood. They rely on consistency. They don't waste time explaining their intentions. They prove them through action. Every time you choose the hard thing, you're building that person. You're creating the identity of a warrior, someone who doesn't crumble when tested, someone who lives by principle instead of impulse. Discipline doesn't just build identity, it reveals it. Deep down, there's a stronger version of you waiting to emerge, but it can't come out through comfort. It has to be built through effort, through repetition, through sacrifice. The person you were meant to become is waiting on the other side of your discipline. Every time you choose to do what's right over what's easy, you get one step closer. Every time you resist the urge to quit, you reinforce that identity. Every time you act in alignment with your goals, your future self grows stronger. Who you are becoming is shaped in the moments no one sees. When you're tired, when you're tempted, when you're alone. Discipline in those moments is what sets the tone for your entire life. Because discipline isn't just what you do, it's who you are. It's the voice inside that says, I will not settle. I will not break. I will not stop. And that voice, when practiced daily, becomes your identity, the unshakable core of the person you were always meant to be.